From Giuseppe's studio, it's the Lombardi and JP Talk Sports Podcast. I'm your boy, Scotty P. They, them boys, Lombardi and JP. And how about them Patriots? Oh, wait a minute. This is a Cowboys show. Here we go, man. At least the Pats are still playing, huh?
Congratulations on your Patriots, Scotty. You know, the easiest season schedule, regular season schedule. Now they're going into Denver to play a team without their starting quarterback. So congrats on the you know easy progression to get to that Super Bowl. I guess I think there's no way they're not going to make it.
JP, nobody likes a sore loser.
No, I mean I'm calling it out how it is. I'm really happy for all the Patriot fans that have a 5-year hiatus, come back stronger than ever. Congratulations to all the New England sport fans. You know, awesome. But Joe, how you doing? First,
just waiting for you two to finish up this dumb conversation.
I know. I
half our followers just left.
I know.
Dumb.
We're streaming. When
you guys are through holding hands, let me know. I'll come back on.
We're streaming live for all the New England Patriot fans here today.
Oh, gross.
Yeah. Headlines in NFL. John Harbaugh signs a 5-year deal with the New York Football Giants. So that is now official. The Titans are reportedly of hiring Robert Saleh, the defensive coordinator for the 49ers. The Dolphins hired defensive coordinator Jeff Hafley as their head coach, and they're pairing him up with the new GM for the Dolphins, who both came from the Packers. Surprisingly, the Buffalo Bills fired Sean McDermott after 9 years, which suggests some internal friction in that franchise, which was really surprising after, taking the Buffalo Bills out of that drought they were in for the playoffs and really turned that franchise around. And it wasn't like Sean McDermott made all those mistakes on the field, the game against the Broncos, but nonetheless, he is gone in Buffalo. The Lions are expected to hire the Cardinals offensive coordinator Dave Petzing as a new OC. Some headlines coming out for injuries is Bo Nix, as we mentioned earlier, is out for the remainder of the playoffs. He hurt his ankle, and he will not start again this season. George Kittle tore his ACL, and hopefully he'll be back for next season. And funny news is Trevon Diggs has been released by the Green Bay Packers. That was a short stint in Green Bay for Diggs. And Zach Charbonnet is out for the remainder of the playoffs with a knee injury. So as we head into the the championship round for the NFC AFC, we have some really good matchups there, which we'll talk about later. But in Cowboys news, Joe, obviously we've been talking about it last week about obviously Eberflus is now out of the building. He is gone, and we do not have to talk about him again. But who will replace Matt Eberflus as a defensive coordinator for the Cowboys? And there's some names that are now floating around that they are interviewing, and the Cowboys have requested permission to talk to. So Deontay Jones is a Minnesota Vikings pass game coordinator for DB coach. The Cowboys have asked to talk to him. Jonathan Gannon has still been floating around there. He's the former Cardinals head coach. Christian Parker, Philadelphia Eagles pass game coordinator, DB's coach, is also a guy on the list. And the dark horse that we mentioned last week that we talked about was Jim Leonard, the Denver Broncos defensive pass game coordinator. He's been in the college scene for a long time, but now he's with the Denver Broncos, and he's the guy that even the 103 the fans have been talking about as being a possible candidate to be our new defensive coordinator, which is not a sexy name. It's just maybe a guy that nobody really knows about at this point. But what do you think, Joe? Do you still have hopes that maybe Brian Flores might be enticed to come over to Dallas, or any other names that you've heard? These are the ones that I've just kind of heard this past couple of weeks.
I think the Flores hope is going to be gone. I think he's going to get a head coaching job. There's so many opportunities out there for a head coach right now, and Flores coming from Miami at one time, being a head coach, and obviously things didn't work out there. He goes over to Minnesota. He proves himself again. And I think his name is floating around to be a head coach. I don't know if he'd want to even come to Dallas. And the thing, I know we talked about this, but the thing about Jim Leonard, this is just typical Dallas Cowboys. On the show last week, my point was this. They shortchange themselves constantly. They look for a good deal. Like Jerry Jones thinks like he can pick a needle in the haystack and find somebody that's going to save the Cowboys. I continue to tell you that we need somebody proven. We need a big splash. We need to go out and make something happen. And the only one that really that impresses me that I would be happy with regards to the group that you mentioned is John Gannon from Arizona. That's the only guy that I feel that would make me happy. And who am I? Just one Cowboy fan out of the billions of Cowboy fans out there. But, there's nobody out there that really, Jim Leonard, come on, really? Jones from Minnesota, like, stop. Minnesota didn't make the playoffs, right? Minnesota was like half-assed. They were useless. He did nothing over there. And then who was the other guy? Christian Parker, you said?
Yeah.
I mean, what are we talking about? Nobody even knows these people.
I'm not defending the Vikings, but Brian Flores did keep that defense pretty competitive. They were out with J.J. McCarthy for multiple weeks in the season, so obviously they finished 500 or so. So they did have a decent season. It wasn't horrible. They kind of made the best of it with their key injuries. Another guy you mentioned, Joe, last week was Jeff Albrecht from the Atlanta Falcons. It looks like they were going to retain him. So Kevin Stefanski, I forgot to mention earlier, he got hired as the Atlanta Falcons coach, and he's retaining Jeff Albrecht and bringing Bill Canahan as their offensive line coach. I saw that. He's a former head coach for the Raiders. His son was the coach of the Titans. Callahan. Yeah, he got fired from the Titans. His son. They were both on that team earlier this season. But Jeff Albrecht would have been great. But let me ask you this question, Joe? What if? Because McDermott is a defensive coordinator, former defensive coordinator. What if we got him? That could be pretty cool.
There was a lot of weird things, and we're only getting half the story. I mean, I'd like to talk about McDermott for a minute because I think you are right. I mean, this is a guy that's proven. This is a guy that gave everything to Buffalo Mafia, whatever they call themselves. I mean, how do they let a guy like that go? It's almost as if maybe McDermott was involved with the ownership and indicating maybe it's time for a change. Maybe he wanted to walk away, similar to Tomlin, because I think that was an agreement with Mike Tomlin as well. 18, 19 years with Pittsburgh, whatever it was a lifetime with Pittsburgh, and maybe it was time for a change of scenery, and as well as Harbaugh with Baltimore. And I'm not sure if that was just ownership of the Buffalo Bills allowing McDermott to walk away, but that guy is an awesome coach. I would love to have him as my head coach, and for him to step down to go be a defensive coordinator, I know that's where his roots are, but I mean, man, I don't know how that's a great conversation topic, but I don't even know how that happens.
Yeah, so it's kind
of wishful thinking.
Yeah, I think it could be possible though. I mean, as long as these head coaching, there's so many openings right now. This is kind of like we haven't had this for a while, having these many openings that need to be filled. Obviously, McDermott's a strong head coaching candidate, but if he went back to the defensive coordinator side of the ball, I mean, I think he'd be great for Dallas. He can definitely scheme a defense. I mean, the Buffalo Bills, when he took them over, was like ranked almost last in defense. And in the 9 years he's been there, they have always a pretty good defense. You always get to count on their defense. And then they got lucky, obviously, with solidifying their quarterback situation with Josh Allen in the draft. So, again, I
don't think the question is, I mean, and I know you're not doing this, but I don't think the question is, would he be a great fit? He would be my number one top choice over Gannon, obviously. It's just, that's so unpredictable. He's such a proven, established head coach right now. He'd rather, in my opinion, I would rather see him, for his own sake, to take a year off, reevaluate, and then come back and see what's open next year. Those guys there's a handful of guys that aren't going from head coach to a coordinator job. You're looking for a guy like Josh McDaniels there from New England. He perfect example of a guy that tried to be
failed.
He tried to be a head coach, and it clearly was just not in his repertoire. It wasn't him. It wasn't his personality. And he knew deep down where he really fit and where he really exceeds, like where he really is successful. So that's the guy that you're going to see go from head coach to coordinator. You're not going to see a McDermott do that.
It's a good point, though. Some of these guys just don't have the head coaching like voodoo to do something good with a team. Like, they are great coordinators, but when they take that next step, they don't make that step for some reason, McDaniels is a great example of that. When he went to the Broncos, failed, went to the Raiders, failed, came back to the Patriots like 3 or 4 times to be their offensive coordinator, and is very successful. Obviously changed Drake May's game this season. But another thing is what's kind of crazy is that Raheem Morris, right? So he gets fired from Atlanta, and he's obviously a great defensive coordinator. He came from the 49ers system. With Saleh going to the Titans, it sounds like, I mean, you would just assume that Raheem Morris would go back to the 49ers and take over that defensive coordinator role, as now it's an opening, right? And he knows that defense, he knows the player. So we might be losing on him too. And I think he would be a great opportunity to get him, because he's got a great scheme as well. But the thing with Raheem Morris is that he had 2 years in Atlanta. I don't think they did that bad. They had some really bad quarterback controversy with Cousins and Penix Jr. Yeah. So I don't really blame head coaches for these things.
I'm more interested in what you brought up about Saleh. Him, and he's another one, like, that's what piques my interest more, really, like, to the top of the list. I mean, this is a guy where he was completely a failure, and I understand it was the Aaron Rodgers, like within 30 seconds he ripped his Achilles, but at the same time, we've seen what Rodgers has done since he's been back in the league, leaving from Green Bay. He's not been that effective. He's not been that great quarterback. Yes, he brought the Pittsburgh Steelers to the playoffs, but he wasn't it wasn't just Aaron Rodgers of the old. My curiosity is Saleh going to go to Tennessee? And I'm sorry, is Saleh going? He's going to Tennessee. My bad. Is Saleh going to go to Tennessee and actually recreate a name for himself? Is he going to be the guy that says, okay, he had a bad go with it with the New York Jets, and he really is one of these great, or going to be one of these great head coaches? Or is he going to be a failure and head back again to the coordinator position? I didn't see a lot when he was a head coach with the Jets. He didn't impress me. So him going to the Titans wasn't a loss for me. I don't know about you. Did you want to see him come to Dallas?
No, he's going to Tennessee. He can stay in Tennessee. This is the thing,
okay,
with Robert Saleh. No, listen, great defensive coordinator. He did change the Jets defense. The Jets had a top 5 defense, but their freaking offense was so bad. They were all in on Aaron Rodgers. They invested all these things to get what Aaron Rodgers wanted. They signed all these receivers he wanted. They got Devontae Adams. They did everything they could to make it an Aaron Rodgers system, and it just didn't work. His first year, obviously, the first couple plays, out for the year. Then the second year just was awful, and then Saleh got the blame for it. Like again, Aaron Rodgers wasn't playing great, and he got the blame. He got kicked out, and he went back to San Francisco and made that 49ers team was pretty, okay with all these injuries. I mean, they got killed by the Seahawks, which we can get into later. But the thing is, like, Saleh had a decent season with no quarterback this year. Kyle Shanahan did a great job with that 49ers team, getting them to the playoffs in the first point. And then having that defense with losing Fred Warner and all these other guys, these components, leaving Greenshaw to the Broncos, all these guys left, and they still were a playoff team that won 12 plus games. So to me, it's like,
that was my point. My point is this: he left to be a head coach. I don't know if he has the capability or personality to work as a head coach. He's been proven as a defensive coordinator. You are right. And that would have been, I'm down on him because he scares me. I'm not really sure what he would have brought to the Dallas Cowboys, but at the same time, I'm okay with him going to Tennessee. He was not one of the guys that I said, wow, he's a guy that's going to come in and carry these guys and put them under the wing, and they're going to want to play for him. He just doesn't strike me as that type of guy.
I feel more comfortable with him as a defensive coordinator than I would a head coach. Obviously, the Tennessee Titans is a very tough situation to walk into. They are like just completely a young team, but they've been horrible.
Awful.
And Cam Ward does not look like the Cam Ward from Miami University. So I don't really know what to expect with the Tennessee Titans. So hopefully they can get an offensive coordinator that can unlock Cam Ward's game. But it is a very, very tough situation. The defense is horrible. Offense is horrible. And we'll see what he can do. But it's not going to be a 1 or 2 years and turn that team around like a Patriots situation this past year.
Let me ask you this real quick before we move on. Who's the biggest shocker of coaching positions and or filling of jobs to you?
The filling, not the firing, but the
filling of a position or the firing of. I mean, we talked about McDermott for sure.
McDermott's the biggest, obviously, but we talked about it already. I think the biggest surprise to me for a hiring There's two. Kevin Stefanski getting another chance in the NFL right now. I thought he'd go back to an offensive coordinator role before he become a head coach, but Atlanta firing Raheem Morris to bring in Kevin Stefanski to play Baker Mayfield twice a year, the quarterback that he threw away. After that was the quarterback that got the Browns to the playoffs in the divisional round against the Chiefs and lost. And the other one was the guy from the Dolphins. I mean, I just never thought the Dolphins would go in that direction, hiring a no-name defensive coach. Especially with the turmoil over there with Tua and that offensive being so bad. But I just never thought, like, again, that he would be a guy that he's a no-name. Nobody knew this guy is. Like, only that GM they hired and in the Miami Dolphins hired the Packers assistant GM. He's the only person that knew about this defensive coordinator. So I just never thought Jeff Hafley would be a name we're going to be talking about in the NFL news. What's your take, Joe?
So you know what my big take is, and it's not any of those. Well, the McDermott one of the firing is the biggest news because, like I said, Tomlin, I think there was a mutual agreement. Harbaugh, there must have been a mutual agreement. Obviously, McDermott. That's a big one.
Well, but wait a minute. The two big differences between that is I could see with the Tomlin situation, mutual agreement on both sides because he officially stepped down. Harbaugh was officially fired. So I don't know how much agreement there was there. And
I'm not sure if he was officially fired. They could say whatever they want, but
they got to put something down.
The owner came out and said they fired him. They asked him if Harbaugh won this last week against the Steelers Ravens, would he be the coach this year or going forward? He said one more week.
That's who I'm going to pick. Well, I'm just going to say this. I could see Harbaugh going into the ownership's office and being like, "Hey, fire me or I'm quitting." Like listen, that guy had 7 opportunities for jobs for 45 minutes. He was, quote, fired. In 45 minutes, there was 6 jobs available, and there was 7 teams calling him. That's how powerful this guy is. And that brings me to my point of the filling of the position. I am absolutely dumbfounded, shocked that he went to the New York Giants. You're talking about a team that in 2016 had hired Ben McAdoo, then Steven Spagnuolo took over as the interim, Pat Shurmur in 2018, Joe Judge in 2020, Brian Dable in 2022. Who's the other guy?
A bunch of no names is what you're saying?
I'm getting there. Kafaka, I think, was the next guy,
He's
right?
He's the interim coach from Dable.
Whatever. Yeah. And now you have John Harbaugh. So since 2016 to 2026, you have a team that hired nobodies. Brian Dable was proven with Buffalo, give him a shot or whatever. But I can't believe what a mess the New York Giants are. And I know they have some young talent and they're looking good. I think they have 2 picks in the top 10 or 20. And I know they have, there could be some potential of trying to trade away the new kid there. They have the quarterback and then bringing in potentially Mendoza if they can trade up or if they're gonna be available for him. But Harbaugh, why are you going to the Giants? Nobody else is shocked about that?
So Jackson Dart's a quarterback for the New York Giants. They're not going after Mendoza. Mendoza's going to be a Raider, 100%. There's no way.
I heard they might try to trade up.
There's no way.
They might try to get rid of Jackson Dart for him first pick to get a Mendoza.
There's no way. There's no way.
I mean,
Jackson Dart's loved in New York. I had Giants fans texting me when John Harbaugh was signed with the Giants and the news broke, and they're all happy because they finally have a head coach. By the way, surprised you mentioned Joe Judge, right? He was a Bill Belichick disciple that went to the Giants, and Sky said nothing about it. Good for you, Scotty, for not sticking up for your Belichick guys. The thing for me is that the Giants are the Giants. They have been horrible in the past 10 years or so. They have just not been competitive. Obviously, Jackson Dart has a bright future, I think, if he can stay healthy. Scatterboo, if he comes back from his horrible ankle injury, if he can come back, he has a bright future. Neighbors was hurt this year, so they have some really good pieces on the offense, but they need to shore up that offensive line because Jackson Dart almost got killed every single game. Watching that Patriots game against the Giants, Jackson Dart took some really bad hits. If that kid's going to continue to run the ball the way he does, he's not going to last long in this league. But again, I think they're all in on Jackson Dart. I think that's a big reason why John Harbaugh went to the Giants, because they had a stable quarterback situation, a young guy that he can obviously manage and mentor in his early career. I think that's a big piece of why he went there. What the interesting thing to me, Joe, and tell me that I'm crazy. Mike Tomlin was with. I hear you. Mike Tomlin was with the Pittsburgh Steelers for 19 seasons and never had a losing record. And yes, he stepped down. It was his decision to step down. It was like Harbaugh got fired. When Harbaugh, they asked the owner, again, like I said earlier, and he said if they won the game against the Steelers, how many would he still be with the Ravens? And the owner said one more week. They had their mind already made up to fire this guy before the season's over because how bad the season was. Now, was it John's fault? Probably not, because Lamar Jackson didn't play all season. He was hurt all the season. They had Cooper Rush, our guy, Cooper Rush playing for the Ravens, and Tyler Huntley came back to play for them. So it wasn't like it was Harbaugh's all his fault. He was the scapegoat for the season. Now, Tomlin never had a losing record with the Steelers. He steps down. How come nobody's lining up to hire this guy? He's never had a losing season in 19 years. Not one team is interviewing this guy.
So I think
crazy.
I think the reason that we're seeing a little bit of this going haywire is this. You are right. He had 19 seasons, I think, with Pittsburgh, not a losing season. Tell me how many Super Bowls he won. Okay. So in John Harbaugh, I was getting to this point, but I wanted to let you finish what you had to say. John Harbaugh does not like. I love more of a Gannon guy than a John Harbaugh. John Harbaugh had 17 seasons with the Baltimore Ravens, and he was what? Overall record season 172-109. So he's got a great regular season record. And guess how many Super Bowls he has in 2012. So my point is this: how long do you go? And the Cowboys fans know this very, very well. Mike McCarthy, and I hate to bring his name up, thank God he hasn't got hired, but Mike McCarthy is a great regular season head coach. He's, 3 or 4
Can I argue, though, one thing with you, though?
Hold on.
John
3 or
Harbaugh?
4 seasons.
17 years.
3 or 4 years with Mike McCarthy at the helm, and we had great, regular season games and winning records. We got to the playoffs, and we sucked. So maybe a change of scenery is good.
Let me argue that before we move on. We got to move on to the playoffs. But
sure.
My last point is this: John Harbaugh played in the AFC, right? Name the quarterbacks that were always in the AFC Championship game: Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes.
Ellie.
It wasn't like he had it was like he sucked. It's like he went to the playoffs and met up with the best of the best, and they couldn't get past them. Joe Flacco had a crazy ass game that year in the AFC Championship game, and they beat the Patriots to go to the Super Bowl, and they beat the 49ers that year. So that was the only year.
You're telling me, let me finish up on this one then. You're telling me for the last 17 years, the AFC is so much stronger than the NFC? Scotty, but do me a favor.
The quarterbacks.
For the last 18 years, I want to know what the Super Bowl records, not the skins, just how many NFC versus AFC.
How many Super Bowls does Tom Brady have in the AFC? 6. How many does Patrick Mahomes have? 3. How many does Peyton Manning have? 3.
Okay.
So that's 12 out of 17 years that we can name that John Harbaugh faced those 3 guys. How many does Ben Roethlisberger have?
So I'm just saying.
About 17 years.
It's just about the quarterback.
And Harbaugh has 1 out of the 17 years.
You have Drake May in the big game this Sunday. He's not even old enough to remember who Peyton Manning is, for crying out loud, or Tom Brady is, right?
That's disrespectful.
You have Drake May. How old is Stidham? Like granted, Bo Nix is hurt. I get it, but he's only been in the league 2 years, right? Bo Nix is
he's like
a
28-year-old rookie though.
2-year kid. And then
he played 6 years in college.
Sam Darnold, who's on AARP. He's in the big game.
He's so young too. He's so young.
God. Not that old.
He looks like he's 60, for crying out loud.
No, he doesn't.
It's a receding hairline, Lombardi.
He looks awful.
Just because he was a Jet quarterback and it took years off his life doesn't mean that he's old.
Just because you named off 3 or 4 quarterbacks in the AFC that were dominant, John Harbaugh gets a free pass over 17 years to win 1 Super Bowl.
Oh my God! Yes.
No.
Oh, okay. Just like I want to switch sports, but like other decades when the NBA in the 90s, when you went to get Michael Jordan in the East, doesn't mean this team sucked and those players are terrible. It's because they went up to the GOAT and they lost to the GOAT. Brady's the GOAT. He's the best of all time.
It's different. That's so obnoxious that you're going to bring basketball. There's 5 guys on the basketball court, and one guy can carry the team.
Because you're not listening. You're missing my point.
Football, that's not the case. That's not the case. You saw it happen with Patrick Mahomes this year. He got killed. He had no protection. He couldn't play. That's what was so impressive about a Tom Brady. Tom Brady didn't matter if he had protection or not. Patrick Mahomes showed weakness. I've told you this all season. Because you have 11 guys out there. It's not just about the quarterback. So there's one guy that has done it all by himself. You're right.
Are we saying Patrick Mahomes is just as good as Brady? Is that the argument? Because he's not.
What's that?
Brady's better than Mahomes.
I just said that. Are you listening?
You're saying
Brady is the only guy that you can tell me that John Harbaugh couldn't beat. If John Harbaugh wanted to beat Patrick Mahomes or Peyton Manning, that is very possible. Tom Brady was unbeatable. That's the only one that I'm going to fall into your theory, let's say.
Multiple winning Super Bowl winning quarterbacks. I just gave it to you. Brady, Mahomes, Roethlisberger, Manning. Those guys, add those all up. It might add 17 years.
Now Big Ben.
Just saying.
So now I got to go back to why you asked that question to begin with. The AFC versus the NFC number of wins is going to prove what point?
He's carving or crafting a point in the sense that John Harbaugh should be able to take a pass because he's this great regular season coach and does not has not won more than one Super Bowl.
You're diminishing him as a head coach. I'm saying to you, he's a really good head coach. He has a Super Bowl win. He had to go up against the best of the best in the playoffs and lost. I don't fault him for losing to guys that have multiple Super Bowls under their resume. I don't care about that.
He went to New York hoping that he's going to play lesser of teams to get us to a Super Bowl.
No,
it's a great organization.
No, I think he went to New York because he saw potential. And mark my words here, we're going to be wishing Harbaugh didn't go to the Giants because you talked about the offensive line, and that's really kind of what they need. It's not all they need, but that's one of their main areas. You don't think Harbaugh can take care of that, get that solved, and all of a sudden the Giants are now a contender? And
Scotty got my point, Joe. He got my point.
That's good. Well, you guys had great points at the beginning of the show too. I'll let you take over. Go ahead.
I'm just saying.
You can talk about your favorite team, JP, the Patriots, in about a minute. So,
oh my God,
playoff time.
All right. Boy, there were so many things that you guys mentioned that I wanted to chime in on. But the only one that I can at least remember when you're talking about Harbaugh and why they let him go, there was some reports that him and Lamar, where there was a little bit of friction in the locker room between possibly Harbaugh and Lamar. And that's one of the reasons why they decided to make that decision. But either way, good discussion, good argument as to how good of a coach really is John Harbaugh. And we will see. As I just said, my opinion, I think we're going to be wishing that he didn't come to the NFC East. But all right, great discussion about the coaching carousel that is the end of the 2025 season and the beginning of 2026 calendar year here. So we just have a few more. What a surprise. We only have a couple more minutes now to get into the AFC Championships. I don't want to ignore the fact that once again, let's look a little bit as to the games that just happened, and then we'll talk a little bit about the 2 games and the matchups coming up. But man, oh man, the Chicago Bears, once again, I said last week, I almost felt like they shouldn't have won that game in the wild card weekend because it was a tale of 2 halves and they look like 2 completely different teams. And you feel like, well, you didn't deserve to win. I felt the same way again this past weekend. Caleb Williams turns and runs 30 yards in the opposite direction, chucks up a Hail Mary, just a prayer that is answered, had no business being answered, just to get him into overtime. And they eventually lost. But man, that was just reassuring. It was reassuring to me. Like, no, I was right. My feeling that they didn't deserve to win, as luck, I would say not all lucky. So many one possession games they won, and they came from behind and they won, and they earned a lot of those wins. I just felt like they didn't earn that win this past weekend. What did you guys think watching that game?
It was funny because Joe called me. He was at some kind of function. He was heading home, and he asked me, "Hey, what's the score to this game?" I said, hey, the Rams are up 17-10. It doesn't look good for the Bears. And as he's talking to me, Caleb Williams does that crazy play and ties the game. I'm like, you're not gonna believe this, Joe. They tied the game. He's driving. He's like, he's rushing home to get to watch the rest of the game.
I did.
So
I
Joe
got
pulled
to see the end of it.
Yeah, Joe got to his house and watched the rest, and we kind of were texting back and forth. It was such an exciting game, right, Joe? I mean, like Caleb Williams, I think he's a gamer.
You know what? I think he needs more experience. He will be a gamer. I think he needs more experience. Once he has a couple of these types of games under his belt, he's going to be fine. The Bears, I was cheering for the Bears, as everybody knows, and I think the Bears are going to be fine. You know what I mean? I disagree a little bit with what Scotty said about luck. I mean, a guy that's a Patriot fan that wants to talk about luck, and I want to get into this. Like, how lucky is your schedule? How lucky are you playing the Denver Broncos next week with a kid that probably shouldn't be an NFL quarterback? How lucky did you get a chance to play the Chargers, who couldn't stop a nosebleed? How lucky were you to play the Texans that
CJ Stroud
that shouldn't have been? I mean, I can go on and on. So I disagree just a little bit about the whole luck thing. I do think the Bears deserve to be there. I know what you're saying about there were some fortunate things that went their way, but the Bears will be back.
So I think the Rams are a really good football team. I think you can't take anything away from Matt Stafford in the Rams offense, and the defense played fantastic the whole game, keeping the Bears only to 17 points. The game that was really surprising to me, that really pissed me off watching this weekend, was the Buffalo Bills and the Denver Broncos. I mean, a play that happened in the Bears-Rams game when Devontae Adams got tackled and he ruled him down by contact when he fumbled the ball at the end of the play. They ruled him down by contact. The same thing happened in the earlier game with the Denver Broncos. And obviously Brandon Cooks was down by contact. The ball came out. They didn't slow the play down to replay or nothing. They just said, nope, it's the Broncos ball, which could have been the game. At that point, if Cooks comes down with that and it was tackled by contact, the Bills win that game. And then at the end of the game, after that happened, there was 2 pass interference calls that were really ticky-tacky, like really bad calls that should have been non-calls that cost the Bills the game. Now, I know you guys were rooting for the Broncos. I was rooting for the Bills. I picked the Bills Rams Super Bowl. So obviously I'm a little hurt by the Bills losing, because I really wanted to see the Bills win and then go into either New England or host Houston.
I was rooting for the Bills because that's what I wanted.
I hear you. But the thing that was the game to me, was like the Bills were 30-30 going to overtime. They hung in there with the best defense in the NFL, the Denver Broncos, and played a hell of a game. You cannot. I know, Joe, you disagree with me, but Josh Allen always has these games where he brings his team into the game. They're in the game and they lose a heartbreaker again. I can't blame Josh Allen for that.
I'm not blaming Josh Allen for it. I think like our team, like, we're cursed. I think the Bills, for some reason, have the same type of curse. They just seem like I'm not just blaming Josh Allen, and they did get robbed. Like there was absolutely, I mean, maybe the next show we talk about officiating again, because it was so bad. I do agree. Those ticky-tack calls in a playoff game, that is absolutely absurd in the NFL, and it should not be allowed, and there should be accountability. The calls were absolutely gross. They were negligent, some of those calls that you had highlighted. No doubt. I've watched it over and over again. And even McDermott called timeout, I think. I think he called timeout to slow things down. Because he couldn't appeal. It wasn't a appealable call,
play, yeah.
Or challengeable.
Turnover.
Excuse me, it wasn't a challengeable call. So he did everything he could by calling timeout and getting into one of the officials' ear. You think at that point in time they would have gathered up, grouped up, and see if anybody saw something different. I'm going off on that, and I'll stop because I know we don't have a lot of time. But my point is this. The Bills just seem to never be able to get out of their own way. It wasn't just because my argument to you offline was that it wasn't just that play that because the Bills lost the game was just that play. It's never just that play. They just can't get out of their own way, and it's sad because I would have liked to see the Patriots and Bills as well.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
any player or coach would tell you, right? There's a whole football game there, 4 quarters. It never comes down to one play or one call. You do the things that we were supposed to. If we executed the way we were supposed to, the other
it's true.
3.5 quarters
game, Scotty,
wouldn't come back that way.
So
yeah,
the other 2 games were not even worth talking about. The Seahawks just routed the 49ers, killed them. It was home field advantage in Seattle is a real thing. That 12th man thing, like they couldn't even hear a play call. It was pretty rough. And
They will be the
Christian
Super Bowl
McCaffrey got
champion.
hurt in that game, and so yeah, you called that one. I was taking the point. I was 0-4 this week in the pick 'em. I picked all the losing teams besides the Rams. The Rams is the only team that
I remember last show.
all right, it's fine. I picked all the
Karma's a
winning
bitch.
teams, and I picked one this week. I picked the Rams. That was it. You guys took the Bears. I think I took the Rams. I think that's how it was. Anyway, all I'm saying is this. Moving on to now this conference championship round. Obviously, it's Patriots at Denver. I think we can do our pick'ems now if you want. I think the Patriots are going to win that game. How can Denver even win? How can you win this game with a backup quarterback who hasn't played all year? I know Sean Payton says he's going to be ready to play and stuff. I hear Sean Payton's he's a great quarterback coach. He's a quarterback guru, but there's no way Stidham's going to be ready to play a AFC Championship game against the New England Patriots, who made C.J. Stroud look like he was seeing ghosts on the field. It was insane.
Let's move on. You just covered it.
Perfect. So you think we all got Patriots in that game?
No, it's so obvious.
Right.
Like, listen, the Denver Broncos all season prided themselves on their defense. Their offense was weak anyways, and it was weak with a guy like Bo Nix. And when I say weak, they were okay. They were average. They were okay. They hung in there, but they won. They won on their defense. Their defense, the Denver Broncos, I've always said they had a strong defense, number 2 defense behind the Seattle Seahawks. And that's why they were so successful, because defense wins championships. Their offense was average. Now, when I tell you that they had Stidham in there, their offense is not going to be average. They're going to be 3 and out very much every single play. How long can a defense hold up when you're 3 and out for the entire 60 minutes? The Patriots win the game.
The tune has changed about Denver. I just want to say it. The tune has changed.
It's amazing how strong and how much of an emphasis we can put on the defense. And one player goes down, and suddenly it doesn't matter how good that defense is.
The quarterback.
And
it's the quarterback.
You make a good point. If they go out 3 and out every single possession, eventually the defense is going to tire and wear down.
I'm not telling you it's a left tackle on the blind side and they're going to have to, move somebody over there, or the running back went down. It's the quarterback.
Yeah, I think it's a big tall order for Stidham to be competitive in this game. He haven't played all year. Obviously, it's any given Sunday. The Patriots can't take that for granted. They have to go there and play their game to make it. But it's just maddening after a 5-year hiatus in the playoffs. They are now back in the playoffs, and the AFC Championship game have a chance to make it to the Super Bowl, because anything can happen. You make it to the big game, anybody can win that game. It doesn't matter how easy the schedule was or easy the playoff road was. Anybody can win that game.
And wouldn't it be very interesting? I know I'm getting ahead of myself here, but wouldn't it be interesting if they face Seattle in the Super Bowl and they happen to win and they beat Seattle? They would have gone through the Houston Texans defense. They would have gone through the Denver Broncos defense and then the Seahawks defense. If not the top three of the top 5 defenses in the league. And we preach every week in this show about how defense wins championships, and yet we still would not give the Patriots their due if that were to happen. But again, let's see what happens, and then we'll have a discussion.
Listen, no doubt they deserve credit beating the Houston defense. No doubt Houston Texans defense was one of the top-ranked defenses in the league throughout. They deserve it. The Chargers sucked, okay? That was a freebie. The Chargers sucked. They get past Denver because of what's going on, and I understand what JP's saying, but I don't see them beating the Seattle Seahawks.
The thing with this, though, right? Obviously, we'll talk about the Chargers had a depleted offensive line. Herbert was sacked a lot. The defense of the Houston Texans were on the field 90% of the game because of C.J. Stroud's mistakes. Now, Drake May had some fumbles and mistakes too, but the defense was wiped out at the end of that game. They were on the field the whole game. The Patriots could take advantage of them late in the game. I think that's going to be something similar this weekend against the Broncos, because they're going to be 3 and out, being wiped out, and Drake Mays is going to feast on them in the second half. The thing with the Super Bowl, though, is that can Sam Darnold win a big game? The 49ers last week got demolished, but the first play of the game was a return for touchdown and a kickoff. So the thing is, like, the defense was killer against Brock Purdy. All that, it was so loud in Seattle, and all that stuff, it was all on the Seattle side. and they got ahead early and just poured it on. The thing is, now they're going against the Rams, and they're a divisional rival, the Rams and Seahawks. And the thing is, they split this year.
Darnold was 12 for 17 with 124 yards and 1 touchdown pass. He did shit.
That's my point.
He was not even.
Can he play in the big game? We don't know.
Listen, he didn't play in this game. He didn't play in this
that's
game.
my
He
point.
threw 124 yards and 1 touchdown pass for 12 for 17. And I get it. They pulled him out like I think halfway through the fourth quarter, whatever it was. But the point of the matter is that the Seahawks are both strong on both sides of the ball. We are ripping teams apart and breaking things down, and we're talking about strong defenses and strong offenses and who threw 4 interceptions and who didn't. But the Seattle Seahawks, like we said, this has been such a fun playoff season because it was anybody's game. The Seahawks, in my opinion, have a little bit more than all of these other teams because they're more of a balanced team than what we see on the field.
I disagree. I think the Rams are going to beat the Seahawks. I picked the Rams to beat the Seahawks this weekend. I think they are balanced as well. I just trust Stafford more than I trust Sam Darnold in these big moments. Obviously, they have the home field advantage in Seattle this week, which is going to be a tough environment for the Rams to play. But Stafford's been in the league for almost it feels like 20 years. The guy's been around for so long that he has a Super Bowl win. Sam Darnold's never really shown up in a big game. Last year, when they brought the Vikings to the playoffs, he threw 3 picks when it mattered most. He was not that great. Taking nothing away from this season, though. He had a great season in Seattle, and nobody expected the Seahawks to be this good this year with that defense. So I'm taking nothing away. Sam Darnold had a great year this year. Seahawks are a great team, and it's amazing to see them back on top. But at the same time, I picked the Rams to go to the Super Bowl, and I'm not wavering on that. I think the Rams will beat the Seahawks. So I have the Patriots Rams rematch of what? Oh, is it 0-1? The rematch is that Super Bowl?
Oh yeah, the first one. Yeah,
right.
The first Super Bowl win.
And listen, make it. We have a lot of fun on the show, but make it clear, make it well known that good for the Patriot fans. As much as they're talking, and Scotty too, and I sincerely, my brother who I was talking to prior to the show tonight. I'm happy for Patriot fans. It sucks because as a Dallas Cowboy fan, we've been waiting 30 years and we can't figure it out. And they go out for 5 years,
Ownership.
and get back into it. Yeah. And so is there some frustration and jealousy on our end? There is absolutely no doubt, for sure. So I'd like to wrap my portion of this up to say congratulations to the Patriots. They figured it out. They're back in the AFC Championship game, and good for Patriot fans for having a brand that knows how to rebound.
I do want to shout out to a couple of my friends that listen to the show every week. I got Scott Harder and Andy Zajac, all those guys that listen to the show every week, and they're diehard Patriot fans. And they give me shit every week about being a Cowboys fan, but they listen to a Cowboys podcast, so the joke's on you. But all I'm saying is that, like, it is we can't sniff a fucking NFC playoff, conference championship game. And these guys are already back after 5 years. They don't know what it's like to have a 30-year drought because they can't remember the last time they had it. I hear you, Scotty, but it's been a long ass time.
It's been how old they are.
It's been a long. They're probably your age, but it's been a long ass time. 20 years of excellence with Tom Brady and Belichick. I have no mercy for you before 2001. I don't give a crap what happened before that.
You
guys
never
20
watched
years.
Steve Grogan and Tony Eason
Whatever.
play in the Super Bowl.
That's like talking about Joe Namath. I don't care. Whatever. It's so long ago. Nobody gives a shit.
How about Doug Flutie? Why are we not mentioning Doug Flutie, the BC guy?
Long history prior to Tom Brady of the Patriots that existed. A long, arduous, almost similar to Red Sox, almost. All right. Well, anyways, so Lombardi, you got Pats against the Seahawks in the Super Bowl.
Seahawks, yes,
with the Seahawks winning, right? And JP,
yes.
You got Rams, Pats, and the Rams winning. And okay, and so I said I had Houston and Seattle with Seattle winning. All right, the Pats beat Houston. Of course, I want the Pats to go to the Super Bowl. I'll be rooting for the Pats. I hope I'm wrong. I'm not going to change my pick because I had Seattle in there. And don't underestimate the Charbonnet. You mentioned in the headlines, JP, Charbonnet's injury. I know they got a two-headed monster in the backfield, but Charbonnet was their primary back, and he will I'm sure be missed. All right, we are way over time. You mentioned what a great postseason and how fun it's been. We've mentioned this in previous shows, but I'm going to mention it real quick here. As of now, the postseason, there have been 15 fourth quarter lead changes, the most in any postseason in NFL history, and 6 games decided by 4 points or fewer, tied with 2021 and the 06 playoffs for the most such games in NFL postseason history. All sorts of records that were mentioned from the wild card weekend, and they continue to add up.
The lead changes that I mean, very cool. It's been, you know what? I know we're running out. Wrap it up, but it has been a really fun playoff season. I can't stand the playoffs because my team's not in it and I lose interest. But having the show, talking to you guys, and watching some of these games, the majority of these games have been a lot of fun.
I'm glad to be a support person during this the tough time. The NFL script has been well written this year, and it's been noted that it's been a great games to watch. But is it a script? I don't know, but I'll leave it there. Scotty, take us away here.
Well, and as you said about the Seahawks, right? Nobody anticipated or imagined that they would be this good and be this far. Same thing as the Patriots. So why not a Super Bowl that has the Patriots, who were 4-13 last year, and the Seahawks? Neither of those teams expected to be in the Super Bowl, and here they are playing for the championship. As Maximus says, are you not entertained? These playoffs. Okay, that's the show. That's all the time we have. We are way over. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you stuck around all the way through to the end, thank you very much. You can find us on all those podcast platforms. You know where we are. Come and check us out. Let us know your comments down below. Who do you have going to the Super Bowl? Who do you think's going to win it all? Are you a Patriots fan? Are you a Cowboys fan? Let us know. We want to hear it either way. All right, thanks for checking us out. Come back again next week for Lombardi. JP, I'm Scotty P. We out. Enjoy the NFC AFC Championship game.